Good morning and welcome to this week's The Upper Deck postseason edition. I'm Lynn and there's Ciarra. What's up, Ciarra?
Good morning, everybody. I'm just happy to be here. It's been a long week of watching everyone else play baseball but the Yankees. We finally made it to yesterday's game. It was an ugly game, but we came out on top, so I'll take it. But there is, a lot to unpack because we gotta fix some things if we're gonna move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got folks with us that are here for it. And I know these folks and I know they're ready to chime in. So what's up, CT, Ken, Lori? Thanks for being here. Jonathan, the guy with all the numbers, zero one I is what I'll call you, and Jared. Great to see you guys. Yeah, so but let's just start like we always do. We'll start off easy and go from there. Spencer's trivia question of the week. We all wait for it. And it always comes with a little story. Aaron Boone leads the Yankees against the Kansas City Royals in this ALDS, as we all know. It's the first time that these two rivals will meet in over 40 years. The Yankees and Royals met in 1976, 77, and 78, all 3 years in which the Yankees defeated the Royals. And here comes the trivia question of the week. In 1980, the Yankees faced the KC Royals in the ALDS playoffs again. The Royals ended up winning the series in a 3-game sweep. Who was the New York Yankees manager that year? And there's your trivia question of the week. And for those of you that are saying, what rivalry? What are you even talking about? That means you're young. Or you might be old and forgot stuff, or just aren't a history buff for way back when. But there was a lot of hot rivalry, even some would say worse than the Red Sox in the 70s and 80s. Couple of really controversial things happened on field. Some of you might have read about it recently because it's been kind of all over X anyway. But there was actually an MLB rule that was changed because of something that happened during the ALDS one year, and that was when Willie Randolph, who was at second base, was hit really hard by Hal McRae, who just slid in hard against him. And basically, Willie Randolph, who weighed maybe 180 pounds soaking wet, was almost landed in center field. And so it broke up a double play in the sixth inning, and the Royals got a score off it. So now we have something that's called the Hal McRae rule, in quotes. It's actually, for those of you that know all the MLB rules, first of all, who are you? It's Rule 7.09H, but let's call it the Hal McRae rule. It was altered after the 1978 season, and it's the rule that provides that a base runner who is not within reach of the base and who takes out an infielder is out and the ball is dead. So, when we see that happen, we could thank Hal McRae and thank Willie Randolph for surviving being tossed around in midair by McRae. So that was a little bit of extra history on behalf of Spencer. So there we go with the trivia question of the week. And thanks, Spencer, as always. Hey, Dev, good to see you. Saw you popping in. I see some answers in the chat. And let's see. Jonathan says someone not named Billy. Dick Hauser says Lori. Perhaps. It was Pikachu as the manager. Okay. Is that what the Pokemon thing was named after? See, I don't know Mario Kart, but I know Pokemon. Yeah. So, and FJ is saying, speaking of Dick Hauser, he was George's worst decision firing him. All right. So, Jared, I know, and you probably feel like I don't know, I don't get your jokes. I totally do. It was just we were talking about Mario Kart before the show. Never mind. So no, totally gotcha. Totally. Yeah. So thank you. All right. So let's get to it. So a record was broken last night with the lead changes in the game. So there's that. I mean, what a game of back and forth with the scores, with the one run edges. And I feel like we just barely squeaked by luck.
Oh, 100%. And firstly, if I was to go to a playoff game, that is the one I would want to go to. Just all the back and forth. There was a lot going on. But I don't know if I could handle like if my heart could handle seeing it in person because being at home, I could, show all my emotions. No one's there to judge me. Um, but the only I hate saying this, but I feel like the only reason we did win is because the ump screwed up that call at second base for Jazz's stolen base. Because without him getting that stolen base, Doogie's hit doesn't mean as much.
That's
So,
right.
but also good for Doogie. He showed up yesterday. He had such a rough second half of the season, and we've sat here week after week and just talked about how bad he's been. I've talked about it on other platforms as well, and for him to show up yesterday in the way that he did, that's exactly what we needed, especially when other members of the team who we normally count on were slumping.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really don't want to give any grace to Darling or to Costas, but they were right. There was no way around that, and I don't even understand how they it was too close to call if that's the reason they made the call.
So
It,
it was like it was a weird thing in the MLB yesterday. I don't know what was happening in New York with like the reviewing, but there was three bad calls yesterday. So there was one in the Mets Phillies game, one in our game, and one in the Dodgers Padres game, where the review booth got them all wrong. But like you could visibly like actually see it with your own eyeballs that the call was wrong. So something was going on with the guy reviewing stuff yesterday. I don't know if he was sleeping on the job, if he, had a little too much to drink the night before, but maybe he shouldn't be the person reviewing in the next couple of games.
yeah. And FJ is saying that he doesn't know what he missed. I seem to be the only one who didn't think that the Jazz play was so conclusive. Okay. It was I was with you all along, FJ, until that last shot, that side shot of his, shoot
Hmm.
cleats against alongside the bag. And then, as Ron Darling said about 12,000 times, we could see the light of day between "Shut up, Ron Darling," and yeah, unanimous in the chat. Sunday. Costas was god awful, and Jared, I was saying to Ciara that when I find myself wishing for smalt, things are really desperate and bad.
Literally 30 seconds into the game, I was like, please shut up. Please stop talking. I don't know how they can be so bad. Um, I don't know if it's because, and this is not me taking shots at anyone who's older, but like they've done it for so long that it's just time to move on at this point. But I just couldn't handle it. It was just god awful and just so boring.
Yeah, and Bob Costas, we know you know a lot. We know that there's a lot of knowledge underneath the toupee. Oh my God, did I just say that? Um, but don't interrupt plays. And it's okay. Oxygen gives life. It's okay to actually breathe every now and then. It was just a lot. And Ron Darling, we know you're the darling of the Mets, but your job is to give the commentary and analysis, not like show your true colors. We know you're orange. We know you're all orange and a different kind of blue. Hey, Jason, good to see you from our friends from 161 River Ave. Thanks for dropping in. Um, yeah, and so we're stuck with them. We're stuck with them if we're watching TBS anyway, all the way through. So I've learned my lesson. Why wouldn't I have synced up to John and Susan all along? So that's what I'm going
Yeah,
to do from
right.
now on. Yeah. So let's talk about the roster for a minute. How's everyone feeling about the 26 man that we got to live through at least through the duration of the series? Ciara?
Look, this is no hate to John Birdie. This is no hate to Ben Rice. I just am heartbroken that Stroman wasn't on the roster. And I know Stroman's a good teammate, so he took it on the chin. But I could just picture him yesterday sitting there in his 2000s World Series t-shirt, just completely heartbroken. Um, I I'm trying to understand the logic behind it. I guess we don't technically need him in a 5-game series, but to have that extra arm in the bullpen would probably be very helpful, especially if we're going to play the way we did yesterday and it ends up being a bullpen game on both sides, right? Um, but with that being said, Duke Ellis better steal 75 bases because why is he here? Right? Like you could have used him last night in place of Stanton, or you could have used Dominguez last night to pinch run for Stanton at any point because Stanton, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, but he cost us 2 runs with those skinny little legs of his not hustling. So at any point, we could have had a pinch runner. Also, Ben Rice, I was a huge advocate for Ben Rice during the season, and I still am a huge fan of Ben Rice. However, this is not the time for experiments, in my opinion. I just do not think. I don't know. I didn't like the move.
Yeah. Well, and I'm right there with you. And Ken's saying that all teams went with 11 relievers. Yep, they did. Doesn't mean they had to. And
Even on the broadcast, and like we said, the broadcast was awful. But even on the broadcast, they said like it's completely untraditional. And I'm not saying like you can't change things, or whatever. But like it's weird that that's what happened across baseball.
yeah. And Jared, I think it's fair. Like Stroman hasn't had his best stuff, especially later on in the season. But and I'm very glad that Holmes did what he did as a mid reliever. But there's no reason why Stroman couldn't have been in the pen instead of Mesa,
Hill.
and Hill, who ended up blowing the save, by the way. And so, I just feel like he's been solid. He got really mid, but yeah. And I know we're not supposed to get all into our feelings, and there's a that's baseball Susan element to this. But you know what? The good news is that this could all change, but we got to get through this series, and it's not necessarily going to be such a cakewalk. I think the good news was that the Royals bullpen, which we virtually saw all of, I feel last night, with the exception of Exec, you guys know who I mean. I could just screw his name up. The last guy, basically, one of the last guys. I mean, he was the only one that was a bit of a force, but I'm not impressed with their bullpen either.
No, if we could get to their bullpen and actually capitalize off of it, we'll be sitting pretty because if I see one more bases loaded and we can't capitalize, I might just lose my mind because it was completely like we could have blown that game open at multiple different occasions and we didn't. So we were trying very hard to beat ourselves last night between Garrett Cole pitching bad, Judge striking out, Volpe's throwing error, and just not capitalizing on runners in scoring position. We were 0 for 8 before Wells got an RBI single with RISP. Like that is insane.
Yeah, I mean, really, just by luck and bad eyes, we won last night. And so that has me a bit on the nervous edge. Devin Nolan, good to see you here on the show. Nice to have you, Egyptian magician. I see you. Yeah, and so I just also feel let's go, going back to Ellis for a second. Um, it's a frivolous choice. I feel. I know that. Yeah, 11 pitchers seems to be all the rave across the teams in the postseason right now, but um, they didn't even use him last night. To your point, and when would be a good time to use him? Because Stanton, if Stanton's the sole reason, and I would imagine he's the primary reason that they have Ellis there. With Rizzo's on the IL and not on the roster. He's the primary reason. And so, Stanton has been getting on base, not hitting balls out of the park. Not going to, so like to me, that would be the only reason you would need Ellis is in those situations. And, we're thinking that postseason G, not last night, but postseason G is going to be more out the park G. So I just don't understand it. And to your point, if Doogie's going to be the left fielder, which there was a hell of an audition and remember me last night, then you bring Jason in for that, and then that's a switch that makes sense, and let him play the rest of the game. I just think it was a wasted spot having Ellis there.
Yeah, 100%. And if they weren't going to use him for Stanton, I don't know what else they would use him for, because even though Glaber is slow, Glaber is such a good leadoff hitter at this point that you can't take the bat out of his hands, right? And then Doogie, for whatever reason, when the postseason starts, he shines under those bright lights. He proved it when he was in Boston, and he did it again last night. For whatever reason, some of these guys just do better in October. And by some of these guys, I mean Doogie and Glaber. And, Soto is just freaking built for the spotlight at this point. So I don't know. If they don't ever use him, I guess it's not the worst thing because we never got to a point where we needed him. But at the same time, what happens if we are completely out of pitchers and we could have used Stroman at that point out of the pen? Stroman, who is a veteran, who has the experience.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And also, why the first series? I would not have had the reaction I had, I think, if this was the ALCS. And just a higher stakes moment than this. But other than that, I just don't get it. And but he's here now, and I won't be as mad if he continues to be. Would they make any roster changes? Should we get to the ALCS? And so let's just go on with our usual stuff. Even though it was just a game, let's talk about the hot dogs. We've been talking about it for a while now already, but I think we covered Doogie. Who'd you have, Ciarra?
I mean, you guys already know it was going to be Gleyber Torres for me because with the game that he had yesterday, he deserves his flowers. His patience at the plate. He had 2 walks yesterday, right? He also had a 2-run home run. He was our only offense for a while there. So he not only did he give us the lead to start after we were down 1-0, 2 walks at the plate. So his patience completely paid off for us. And you know what? Not for nothing, the guy is playing good defense right now. So he's literally been the hottest leadoff hitter in baseball, and he carried it over to October. Glaber, for whatever reason, loves this month. I don't know if Halloween's his favorite, his favorite holiday or something, but like October and Glaber are meant to be.
So he's morphing into that kind of guy. I mean, it's what we say about Stanton to defend him all the time. And he woke up. I'm glad he's awake. I'll have what he's having. I hope he stays awake. Hey Frank, didn't see you come in. And so 100% he gets his flowers too. Listen, I think that we have to give Holmes, who got the W, a mention because we have been pooping on him real bad. And so, he gave us that solid middle innings, and he gave up just the 1 hit, but walked away with the W.
Yeah, and I think that middle inning could be the best thing for him. He doesn't have the strikeout stuff. And we talk about all the time how closers really need to have that strikeout just the way that Weaver does. So maybe putting Holmes in a non-pressure situation in the middle of the game is what's best for him, because I truly believe that towards the end of the season, his confidence was shot because we kept throwing him out there, blown save after blown save after blown save. Like how does your confidence recover from that? So I hope he keeps it going.
Yep. I'm going to throw Cabrera out as a hot dog this week. He looked solid and comfortable at first. And yeah, nobody's going to be Rizzo on the bag. There's just no one on the squad that's going to come that close. But this utility guy has proven himself time and time again, and I was happy to see him there and being given that opportunity. The way I wish Stroman had been given the opportunity, because his bat wasn't all that hot, but he was really solid at first base, which of course we need. Um, and I also want to mention that I'm still gonna give a little bouquet of flowers to Chisholm. Now that we just said that, he wasn't safe there, um, he took a very smart chance. I think anyone would have taken that jump to third, and he also was somebody who produced yesterday and got on the bags. And if even if it's just like, hey, you are in it to win it, flowers. I'm thinking that he showed up last night. And again, I see Birdie is looking over Chisholm's shoulder like, I see you. I'm waiting for my turn. It's the same thing as we were just talking about with Stroh. I think Chisholm has been, solid. He morphed into that role so easily. And I think he's doing us a solid.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? Chisholm, I just love the guy's energy, right? Like he came here and he just has like that childlike energy. He's just excited to play baseball and excited to be a teammate of the New York Yankees. I don't know if you saw after Doogie got his hit yesterday, and obviously, Chisholm scored and almost took out the home plate ump, but he embraced Doogie in such a big hug in that dugout. I like
Oh,
I feel like Chisholm was more proud of Doogie than Doogie was proud of Doogie. Um,
yes.
and that's just so nice to see from teammates. Like you know that that's a good clubhouse right now.
Right. And we talk about that a lot on the show, that, those things matter, certainly not as much as what happens out on the field. But, it really matters in terms of the energy and the morale and the I see you ness of it all. And so, and Doogie really needs the love. I mean, I can't imagine what it was like for him sitting on that bench. And so I think he deserved it. And Jazz is always one of the first ones to get it. Who else did you have as a hot dog?
Yeah, so we got to give it to Soto. I don't know what it is about this guy, but he is just built for these big moments. I was so disappointed because right out the gate, Gleyber Torres gets a walk, Juan Soto gets a double, and then we can't capitalize on that. Like the guy is doing what we want to pay him to do, and we're not capitalizing behind him. He had multiple hits last night, and I've criticized his defense all season long, justifiably, but he showed up with the glove yesterday. And I
Yes,
know
he did.
Salvador Perez is not the fastest guy, but for him to show up for Soto to throw him out of the plate is kind of huge, especially in a game like last night where we're going tit for tat and the score changed so much and you never know what's going to happen. I was still holding my breath in the ninth inning. I trust Weaver, but at that point it was like things are all over the place today, so you don't know what's going to happen. So Soto, I can't wait to see what he does for the rest of the ALDS. And if we make it to the ALCS in the World Series, I think Soto is going to be a huge, 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 huge piece of this offense.
Yeah, that throw surprised me, to be honest. That was so on the money, and I was more nervous about the catching end of it than anything. And so absolutely. And the thing is, and this is gonna sort of lead us into the next category, but the one who follows Soto did not capitalize last night. So, we always say, as Judge goes, so do the rest of the team. But as Soto goes, so does Judge, and that just didn't happen. But before we go there, even though I just went there, let's talk about Weaver, because specifically, because those three strikeouts to get the save. He's just remarkable. And again, I know Costas and Darling are getting so much love in the chat that I can't really pay attention to all of it right now. I'm looking forward to reading it afterwards because I'm here for it. If they just said one more time that he's dopey, or goofy, and you know what, the guy Curry and Kay kind of continued that narrative in the post game. Like, oh, for such a goofy guy, he could really get serious. He's really serious on the mound. Well, duh. Um, yes, it's 1980, and I just said duh. So he's just he just was in a zone, and even between the innings, they kept putting him, putting the camera on him. He was not looking at anybody. It was Cole style. He was not looking at anybody. He was rocking back and forth, and yeah, he is just not only auditioning for the closer position. I think he's, just about nailed and signed as the closer.
Yeah, he was lights out last night. The ninth inning, like I said, I was still holding my breath, not because of Weaver, just because anything could have gone wrong at that point in the game. It was just one of those games.
Yeah.
But he was lights out, and I love Weaver's energy. He is like a sociopath on the mound, and I don't know what it is, but he just like locks in. And you know what? Everyone in the baseball world loves to talk about the Yankees payroll. We're only paying Weaver like $2 million. $2 million for a closer when all the other closers in the league are making, they don't make as much as, the DHs and in the position player, like the outfielders and stuff, but they're making a lot more than $2 million. So I will take my little discount bargain closer and take him all the way to the World Series because I have full faith in him at this point.
Yeah, and that's locked in for another year at the 2 mil. So if he keeps up at the rate he's going and he becomes, our closer, never Mo style, but becomes, the best we've seen in a long, long while, that too is going to be multiplied by multiple zeros, or should be if they want to hold on to him. Well, yeah, Jay. I mean, in baseball, it is only
cheap.
$2 million.
That's like the clearance rack in baseball.
Yeah, that's like they went to Dollar General and picked them up in baseball land. Let's be honest about that. So yeah, and Hader scoffs at 2 mil too. Yeah, I mean, we the people wouldn't ever scoff at it, but let's face it, the guy's walking around with all the zeros, and this guy's out there shoving and producing. So I totally agree with that. Let's go to the other side of the equation and then talk about the doghouse.
Do we have to?
Well, you know what? It's a tradition. And again, it's small. It feels so weird to just be on talking about one game. But they're all important. All the more, even more important than a week's worth of games. And so, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's think about last night in the bubble that it was at, and let's just call out the fact that our captain was 0 for 5 last night.
Yeah, he was. But you know what's crazy? Now that I think about it, Bobby Witt Jr. and Judge are both 0 for 5. So the two like MVPs who they say are battling for MVP, right? But we know who the real winner is. They both went 0 for 5 last night. Could you imagine if either one of them had actually showed up to play? It would be a totally different ball game. I don't know what it is about Judge in playoffs, but he's got to figure it out this season. And I know it was only one game, so I'm not going to beat him up too much. And we had 9 days off, so I'll give him a little grace. But this is the year that he needs to figure it out in the playoffs, because if Soto and Glaber and Wells and everyone else is getting their job done, we need our captain. We need those big moments from him. And I guess that's all I really have to say about it, because it was tough to watch. And you know the baseball world is really going to push this narrative that Judge can't play in playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. And FJ is saying Witt was also 0 for 5, but at least he made contact twice.
100%, yeah.
And we better know, and they better know, that Witt, of all of them, are coming back with a vengeance Monday night.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even see Witt Jr. yesterday at all. And I just think that was there, but for the grace of God kind of stuff, because I was, and Gurriel also was that, how many pitches did Cole have to throw. Gurriel was another one that didn't really make the contact as much as you would expect him to. But we're not talking about the Royals now. How dare I? Let's talk about Cole.
Ugh.
Um, uh, and I feel bad even bringing him up because he'd be here saying it himself. He said it himself after the game. But to go 5 innings with 3 earned runs and really low on the strikeouts too. I think what it was 3 in total from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got, I just hope that he chose a postseason game to have a bad evening because this is not who he is and what he does. What did you see as the issue with Cole?
His stuff just wasn't there, and it's so weird because last week we just talked about how against the Orioles in Boston, he's been terrible, but against the rest of the league, he had like a 1 point something ERA, right? So it was super weird to see him struggle. Right out the gate, it just looked like he didn't have it, and it was too much hard contact. Thankfully, Judge did play very good defense that very first inning. Like that was actually kind of scary. Um, but yeah, 3 strikeouts from Cole, that's super low. He's what? He's pitching game 4, I believe, so he needs to eat some more bananas, do some more squats, like, I don't know, do something. But I feel like this puts more pressure on Rodon for game 2 to
Yes.
have to shove, and that worries me because while Rodon has been great lately, and I'll give him his flowers, he's one of those guys where I just don't trust his emotions, so it's a little scary.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the same level of confidence by far. And
Mhm.
I have to take all that confidence I had for Cole going in and really try to get it in my heart and soul to, put that to Rodon because he does make you nervous. And Lori, I'm gonna save this comment. I'm relying on it. I think Cole's another one. He's not happy, and when he's not happy, he's relentlessly working. And I wanna put out there like, how many times do you think he watched the videos last night, guys? Like I think even before he left the stadium, he played and played and played over, his pitches. So I'm not worried about him, but um, and Sean, hey Sean, didn't see you come in. Sean's saying Rodon the Bulldog will shove. Okay, I wanna see Snorton Rodon. Um, I'm here for it, Sean, and I'll come find you. I'll come find you Monday night if that's not what we're seeing, but I'm here for it. So we all know Hill, brought the blew the save in the 1 inning that he was out there. I so again, the doghouse isn't all that fair, but we certainly could have used a little bit better from somebody who could have been Stroman. Anyway, uh,
Yeah. I mean, I also have Anthony Volpe in the doghouse because
mhm,
while I was happy with his walk and his patience at the plate, that was a terrible throw. Like it was just bad. And it was so funny because the very next play, it looked like Jazz completely cut Volpe off to make the play himself. So I don't know what's going on with Volpe and why he, like, in the second half of the year can't make these plays. Um, but he's got to get it together. We can't deal with this macaroni noodle arm right now.
no,
Like, everyone's already waiting and holding their breath for Gleyber Torres to mess up in the infield. Volpe can't do it too. He's got to get it together.
right, and that's another reason for Torres Glaber's flowers is because he's picking up the slack in some ways. So and Volpe's bat has just been so flat and non-existent. And how many more adjustments are we gonna witness or wait for this season? And this is not the postseason Volpe we saw the first go round. So I really expected better, and I hope to see better from Volpe.
Yeah.
Um,
Part of me wonders too with the roster we have, if Volpe continues to struggle and make mistakes. And no, granted, it was 1 game, right? So we don't know what's gonna happen on Monday. But let's say he continues struggling and making mistakes. Do they then try Waldo at shortstop because then you still have Rice or Birdie who can play first base.
I'm comfortable with Cabrera just about anywhere. So,
Yeah.
um, I would not be mad at that. Whatever works, even if it means taking, the golden child off the roster for a night. But he's definitely I don't know what Rawson's doing with him, but better pick up the pace with that because and overall the guys were just flat last night in general.
Yeah.
But so I guess everyone's in the doghouse for that. But Volpe has been consistent at being just not good.
Consistently inconsistent.
Exactly. So we need to get him moving, and Monday night I hope is the night. Um, oh, that's already tomorrow night. I
Yeah.
don't know why I keep saying Monday night.
Like it's so far away.
So it feels far away because I feel cheated. Thank goodness for football, but I do feel a little cheated. And I also am a little worried, frankly, about another off day, even though it's one. I don't think the big off time served them all that well if last night is any evidence. So,
It
um,
doesn't, because baseball is a game of momentum, right? And if you look at the wild card rounds that just happened, and I'm sorry, I have to talk about the team on the other side of the city in Queens, but look at the momentum that they've carried with them from the very last game of the season that they played, where they just made wild card, well, second last, where they just made wild card at 89 wins, through the wild card round, through yesterday. Like, that's what you need. You need that momentum. We don't have momentum right now. We were just off for 80, 11 days. Now we're off again tomorrow. Like, is our offense going to show up, or is it just going to be Glaber and Soto? Because if that's the case, like, that's not going to work.
vengeance shall be mine if the Mets make it all the way and we do not. It's Subway Series or bust. If we go down, they better go down. So,
I won't lie.
well,
If we go down and they stay in, I will be rooting for them,
no,
just
I
because, like, I'm guilty of trolling them this season, but what they've done this season, like, they are the underdog on both sides of the coin. They shouldn't be in the playoffs, let alone, like, they shouldn't have been in the wild card, let alone into the I'm sorry, NLDS. So if they continue to go through, like, good for them. Like, that's incredible. But
I'm
at the end
yeah.
of the day, it's Yankees World Series and nobody else matters.
Look, I think that it's in my DNA to say, talk smack with them as a Bronx girl, um, but no, they get a huge, as you would say, bouquet of flowers. Their run from June till now
Mhm.
has been, for the history books. It's been nothing short of amazing. No pun intended. And the Phillies are their kryptonite typically. So no, and we used to be comeback kids, but the Mets have been the comeback kids.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's not they've earned their right to be there. There's no doubt about that. Um, and I'm just throwing this up there, FJ, because
Mhm.
thank you for that. I didn't look at any numbers. I trust you, and that's gonna make me sleep a little bit better tonight. Let's hope that continues. Um, he's also saying that they murdered us in the regular season, which is facts. Yeah, I probably shouldn't want it. But, it's sort of like that expensive outfit that you shouldn't want, but you
Can
want it
can
anyway.
you pull up Willard Wright's comment?
Whose comment?
The
Oh, Willard
Willard,
Wright. Yep.
yeah, because I just have something to say about it. So we did talk about this already, that the completely screwed up that call, right?
Welcome, by the way.
But if you watched any of the other baseball games yesterday, they screwed up calls in the Mets Phillies game. They screwed up a call in the Dodgers Padres game. So don't push that narrative that we got the call just because we're the Yankees. Because the baseball world is already waiting for us to fail. They're going to use our payroll as an excuse if we win or lose. They're going to say we have the easiest road to the World Series. I've already seen that narrative. So, like, pushing the narrative that we got the call because we're the Yankees. Don't do that, especially if you're a Yankees fan. Like, that's terrible. There was terrible calls in all of baseball yesterday, and the strike zone was terrible for both teams yesterday. So the umps just sucked. And then whoever was in charge of the replay and making that call, they did a terrible job. And that's not the Yankees' fault.
Thank you. Yeah, Willard, I'm just gonna ditto all that and leave it at that. But really, just a garbage take. I know the topic's hot takes, but it doesn't say garbage takes. Really unfair to the Yankees there. And so let's go to what the hot takes are because we went everywhere but. um so we have game 3. I'm already thinking about game 3, and I think Schmidt gets the ball over heel, and that's my hot take. I know that people are still very up about heel and behind heel. I haven't heard so much of that for Schmidt, but I think that Schmidt, let's go with the experience, and since coming back, he's been doing fine. I think Schmidt gets it over heel.
Yeah, so I've been the leader of the Clark Schmidt fan club all season. It completely broke my heart when he got injured because I was calling for him to be the Cy Young winner this year. Um, but I'm going to disagree with you only because I think Schmidt out of the bullpen would be a huge impact because he has that bullpen experience. I think the ALCS having him start will benefit us, but I think having him piggyback off the heel would actually just be. I feel like it would be cinema because Luis Heel, he can be a lights out pitcher, but he labors pretty early on. So to have Clark Schmidt come in behind him and be able to give 3 or 4 innings, I think would just, I don't know. I just feel like that would benefit us so much. But I mean, I think either way, they're both great pitchers. So I can't wait to see them both on the mound. Obviously I'm rooting for everybody to do good at this point.
That's interesting. I'd be open to that. I think where I was coming from is that he just has more of the road under his wheels,
Yeah.
and has had been more consistency, since coming back from the IL than we've seen from Heel. Heel started when he came back, started off like, oh, okay, we have him back, and did some sliding. So maybe I'm just going by recent memory, unjustly. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no, and that totally makes sense. And I could see it. Yeah, I could totally see Schmidt coming out and having a better start.
yeah. All right. Well, so yeah, and that's, I guess that's why the slash is there. They couldn't make the choice. And so they took both of them, and I'd be fine with either one of them. So, but I just think that I'm hoping it's Schmidt over Heel. And that really wasn't a hot take. I was kind of stretching for one this week. Because we don't really have much
I
games.
mean, my hot take is not a hot take for me, but it's a hot take for other people. Gleyber Torres is about to have the best playoff run of his career, and the Yankees are going to re-sign him, and it's going to make a lot of people mad. But I am here for it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you with that too. Hey, it's over. Judge weakness. Royals pitching him tough, down middle, change up and inside, out over plate, pitch cutter. Um I guess it's over. You're saying that that's something that a judge needs to make some adjustments for. But thanks for the take there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's it's over. I agree with you. They are pitching him tough, and they should pitch him tough. However, my gripe with Judge right now is you are literally the best player on the planet. Like, I'm the MLB when Shohei Ohtani hit a home run yesterday, it was 5 back to back to back to back tweets. I don't think they breathed in between sending those tweets.
Annoying.
So I need Josh to step it up so I don't have to hear about Ohtani all season, all postseason. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to hear about it. I want the best player on the planet to do his job and do what we pay him to do. Now, like I said earlier, I'm going to give him a little grace because it was only game 1 and we were coming off of 9 days of rest. I'm not a Major League Baseball player, so I don't know how the rest messes with you, but I'm sure it's not good. So he needs to step it up tomorrow. I'm sorry, like that's all
Yep.
there is to it.
Yeah, you only have so many chances. And Sean's hot take is that he'll have a monster postseason. Well, yeah, that's the expectation. And especially this series when his contender for MVP is on the Royals. Do we want to see Witt win that MVP for the American League? So Judge, I don't think thinks first for that, but we do. So get it going. I do not
Yeah.
want Witt Jr. in that getting that.
No, and to your point, Judge isn't thinking, he's thinking about just, I'm sure he's in his head more than like anybody. He's probably wondering like what does he need to do to help his team? He's a great captain and he's shown that this season. Um, but like I said, like the baseball world is waiting for him to fail in the postseason because he's proven in the past that it's just not where he shines. But now, after the season he's coming off of, like, he's had a few very good seasons back to back to back to back to back, with the exception of last year because he was hurt. But the numbers he put up this year are unreal. They're unreal, and they're numbers that haven't been put up since Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds. So
Right.
he needs to carry that over with him. We need that from him. If we're going to win a World Series, it cannot fall on, like I said, it can't fall on Soto's shoulders. It can't fall on just Glaber and Stanton's shoulders. Judge has to show up.
Yep. And the chat is has his back all the way. I see you, Egyptian magician. And Sean, yeah. Well, so you're thinking they were pitching around, Judge. Well, that wouldn't be the first time. But I really just think it was more that he just was not seeing the pitches and missed some really good opportunities. I certainly don't think it was about the pitching, and the quality of it. I think there was just really some lost opportunities there. And so I think that any other hot takes from you before we talk about moving forward?
Mm, I I guess if Stroman is on the ALCS, he's going to surprise on the ALCS roster. He's going to surprise a lot of people because Stroman, to me, he's the type of guy that's going to make the adjustments that need to be made, and he just wants to win and be the best teammate possible. I think he's going to show up and be lights out.
I'm here all day for that, and I'm here all day for what Jared's saying. Stanton hits 2 home runs tomorrow. Yeah, he's got a lot to make up for. I was really counting on him for a blast last night, especially when he was sweating out, taking all those foul tips, about 100 of them. I thought, okay, this is his tell usually that he's ramping up for launching, and then it just fizzled like a bad firecracker. So, yeah, Jared, I'm with you. You get a gold star for that hot take. All right, so we know that quite obviously Rizzo's down. What that he didn't make the roster clearly. Do you think he's out for good?
No. My only concern is there hasn't been a lot of movement with him with these fractured fingers, but I feel like the Yankees know that they need him in the ALCS because as good as Cabrera is at first base, he's not Rizzo. And him being in the lineup doesn't hurt either. So I don't know. They need to just shoot him up with some cortisol, give him some Vicodin, do something, and get him back on the roster for the ALCS.
Right. And just from a here I go being like all feelsy and stuff. But I don't want, and we talked about this last week, and I know you feel the same way, Ciarra. We don't want Rizzo to go out this way. If this is in fact heading in that direction for him, which we've also been talking a lot about every week. I'd love to see him back. And so, yeah, shoot him up. And hopefully just get him out there. I think he's worth having that slot. If they adjust for the ALCS.
I actually had this conversation with somebody the other day. It would be heartbreaking for it to end like this for him. And I'm not saying he's going to retire because I don't know what he's going to do.
No,
but the Yankees probably aren't going to sign him. Like they're probably going to use his opt-out option next season because they have younger, healthier options for first base now. But Rizzo is a borderline Hall of Famer and a huge part of the Cubs World Series. He has been such a huge part of this team too for the past few seasons. So I know he's gotten a lot of hate this year, but honestly, the guy isn't injury prone. He just has had freak accidents. And it's not even fair to him because between, the concussion from, Tatis Jr. and the broken arm and then getting just he happened to get hit right in the fingers to fracture them.
Yeah.
So it just sucks. And I don't want to see him go down like that.
It's freak. Yeah. And that, and I get it, CT and Lori, I get both of you on what you're saying. That's why I gave you the disclaimer at the beginning. I know this is like about the feels more than about the game. Yeah, and half of me also loves that you're saying that you rather see Cabrera at first, being since we've been championing him all season. So it's great, and that's the way, that's baseball, right? I mean, he gets the opportunity. But yeah, it's just I wouldn't be mad at it if we do see him back. And he's freakish. So somehow that hit a funny bone that he's freakishly injury prone. It is. So yeah, and really that's the only down dog. I don't mean disrespect to any other down dogs somewhere down, but of consequence in terms of the series, in terms of getting through to the ALDS. So let's talk about tomorrow night before we wrap up. What are our predictions? We talked about Rodon already. Who are we going? Is the lineup going to be the same? Are there going to be any switches?
I think the lineup will be the exact same except for the catchers. I don't know why, but I could just see them trying to put Trevino in the lineup.
Okay. That would have been a good hot take too. But I could see that too. And maybe that might be the better match with Rodon. I think that's what it should come down to.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Rodon has been with Trevino more than Wells over time. You can fact check me on that. But if that's the better choice, to keep Rodon right and ready and focused and not tantruming, then that's who I want. So hey, John the Beagle Dad, you were at the vet. I hope Doggie's okay. I hope he's not a down dog for long. Look at what we have up on the screen, and you say that. Oh, John, so sorry for your beagle. Hope he's okay. Oh, and here's Jared's predictions for Rodon.
I like it.
Ooh, I almost want to dip that in 14 karat gold and wear it around my neck. Okay.
I see your 7 strikeouts, and I raise you 10. I think Rodon's going to have 10 strikeouts. He's going to channel his inner Luis Heel and just forget a bulldog. He's going to be a pit bull. I need pit bull.
I'm going back here for a minute. Wow. Okay. 10, you're saying 10 strikeouts. Okay. Yeah. Wow. All right. All right. Well then, oh, good. I'm glad your doggie will be fine, John. Yeah, Lori, we all pray Rodon isn't crying at the end. Yeah, gonna skip that.
We clearly have a Houston Astros fan in the chat, which is fine. But
right, he has nothing else to do. No baseball team for him to watch right now. Sorry, Willard.
Michael K. Curse lives on.
Yeah. Raziel, hey, good to see you. So let's go back to the question of the week. So in 1980, the Yankees faced the KC Royals in the ALDS playoffs. The Royals ended up winning the series in a 3-game sweep. Who was the New York manager that year? I'm going to give everyone a chance to answer. You late attenders, those who were on time already locked in some guesses, and we're going to see who's right in just a second. Is everyone really tense about that? No one's paying attention in the chat. So Okay. Oh, Egyptian is saying Bucky. Okay. Buck Showalter, I'm assuming. Yeah, okay, Jared, that's fine. I mean, it was 1980. It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Um,
I was negative 24, so I don't know.
oh, just that's so precious. I was in high school. Um, I was deep into high school. So anyway, but I say I'm old on every show. I think everyone knows that by now. Oh, you think Bucky Dent was the manager? Okay, sorry, misunderstood. Okay, CT is saying Dick Hauser, and the answer is, and I think I spelled it wrong. I went with what I was given. So, and is that the second week in a row I had a typo? Yes, Dick Hauser. At least it's phonetically accurate. Dick Hauser is the answer. So, Lori C, I see you. CT cards, great guess. And Spencer, as always, thanks for the trivia question of the week. So listen, everybody. It was a rough win. It was not pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty as long as there's a W at the end of it. But I want pretty ball tomorrow night. I really want to see the Yankees come back full throttle. I want them to know that they were meh last night and certainly not playing of the caliber of a postseason team. So I would think that most of you in the chat agree with that. Perhaps save one person in the chat. And so, Ciarra, any last words before we sign off?
Yeah, so from one troll to another, if you're gonna troll us, at least be a fan of a team that doesn't have to cheat to win a World Series, okay? Because at the end of the day, your dynasty will always be tainted by trash cans. So with that said, the Yankees are gonna go on to, have a great postseason run. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge are gonna lock in, and we're gonna win the World Series. And don't forget to touch some grass today, guys. It's really good for you.
Yep. And when you get anywhere near 27 rings, come on back. We'll bring you on screen and have a show with you. I won't live that long. But yeah, better calm down. All right. So, but for the rest of you, we're so grateful every week that you're with us. All of you are like family to us. I hope you know that, and I hope you know that we see you coming in early, and that also makes us happy as we're getting ready to gear up and come on live with y'all. So don't forget to like before you leave us. We hit that thumbs up for us. You're here because you subscribe to the Pinstripe Chronicles. You'll catch the guys this week, and they'll have a lot more to talk about because there'll be more games played before you see us next week. So don't forget, Tats, Donald, and Rob every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. live on the Pinstripe Chronicles channel. And come back Sunday because it's either going to be a fun, glorious show or a show of despair and disdain. I vote for a great show next Sunday, so be here for it. And as always, you'll always have a seat with Ciarra and me right here on the upper deck. Let's go do this damn thing, Yankees!